Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 11 of Gridiron Across the U.S. podcast. We are finally back recording. We've been gone for a little bit, and that's because we've been away. I was in Las Vegas gambling away my entire life savings, and Dom was in Wisconsin Dells. So we just couldn't find time to record while we were away. And, we just thought might as well just wait until this week. So we are back here for our Thursday episode, and we will be previewing the conference championship week while also reviewing the divisional round.
Yep, we're going to start it right off away by reviewing our picks from the divisional round. Since we didn't have a chance to record an episode for it, we posted that on Instagram and TikTok. The TikTok ban lasted as long as Aaron Rodgers' season last year. So let's look into those picks. I did not do very good. I went 1-3. Kevin, you went 3-1. So I think what went wrong for me is I got a little overconfident. I believed in the Rams and I believed in Lamar Jackson. But I should have known. Rams can't stop Saquon Barkley, and Lamar is a regular season merchant. What do you think went right when deciding your picks for those games?
Yeah, so this brings my overall playoff record up to 8-2, which is pretty good. But my Super Bowl pick and the lines are out.
Me
I
too.
I should have known kind of with the injuries, but I thought they'd at least make it to the NFC Championship. My only I'll talk about my wrong one. What happened was I think the Lions coordinators were a little distracted by their coaching interviews, and that led to them not preparing fully for the game, and honestly just let Jaden Daniels and the Washington offense go roll right over them and put up 45 points, I think. Final score is 45-31. And Washington is headed to the NFC Championship. Good for them. Happy for them. But my other three picks, I mean, you're never going to pick against the Chiefs and Arrowhead in the playoffs. I mean, that's just a rule of thumb. The Bills, honestly, that just came from being a professional Ravens hater. I hate the Ravens, and that was a wonderful hate watch. And the Eagles, I was rooting for the Rams. They made it close at the end, but ultimately the Eagles were able to pull through with that stop late in the game. And yeah, pretty good week overall for me on the picks.
Yeah, so we're going to move on to the picks, and we're just going to recap those games in depth. We've done a little bit here, but we'll go fully in depth. We'll start it out in the AFC with Texans versus Chiefs. I didn't get a chance to watch too many of these games. I was out snowboarding, having a good time, and not just Wisconsin, but the Wisconsin Dells. But I think where it went wrong for the Texans, I think I've been saying this a lot. I think it was the officiating on this one. They did make mistakes. They did allow 8 sacks. They missed 3 field goals, but they still made it a close enough game. But if they hadn't missed all that stuff, they would have won, I believe. But another reason is the officiating. We saw those roughing the passer calls. You know, when you got a guy like Patrick Mahomes, he can just do anything. Out of here. Anyway, I think that's where it went wrong for the Texans. Just crucial mistakes made. You can't be missing 3 field goals. It may have been a little bit of black magic, but it could have been. Probably not. I think it's just bad play by the Texans. That environment in Arrowhead is just really good, really benefits the Chiefs. And the officiating crew seems to have been benefiting the Chiefs lately. What do you think on that game?
Yeah, I also didn't get to watch this game because I was on the plane back from Las Vegas for this game and the Lions Commanders game. I unfortunately missed both of those games, so I don't know too much what went on. But hearing from everybody, I heard the officiating was pretty atrocious. But I'm not one to blame an entire game on that unless it comes down to one play at the end. With the three missed field goals, you're never going to beat the Chiefs making mistakes like that. It's just how they play football. A lot of people want to say they're worse this year because they're not putting up as many points. I don't agree. The trade-off is their defense is just significantly better than it has ever been this year. And when you have a guy like Steve Spagnuolo as a defensive coordinator, it's always going to be good. But they've really taken a step up this year. And if you're gonna leave 9 points on the board, you're never going to beat a team who doesn't allow more than 20 quite often, especially to a team like the Texans. I think that was definitely the thing that came back to bite them. And the 8 sacks. You can't
Yeah.
win a football game allowing 8 sacks. That's like Joe Burrow in the Super Bowl numbers. You're never gonna win like that.
Or Sam Darnold Viking numbers,
Yeah.
as we previously mentioned here. All right, you want to get into the Ravens Bills game? I think
Yeah.
you watched that one.
Ravens, Bills. Playoff Lamar. Oh, he does it again. They want to call him the MV3. They want to call it a Jackson 5. But what I can tell you is it's another Lamar playoff joke when he actually is to play a real playoff team. Steelers don't count. Steelers are not a playoff team. They always lose. Doesn't count. But um I mean, the interception and the fumble that really killed them, killed any momentum they had early in the game. Bills got ahead early. Ravens made that late push, and as a Steelers fan, I had some flashbacks to on the Mark Andrews play. Um, it was a flat route to the right on a rollout, and Andrews dropped it. I think it was 2021 Ravens at Steelers when the exact same thing happened, handing the Steelers the game. So yeah, I was very happy when that happened. I will say, I don't like how the Ravens fans are treating Mark Andrews.
No.
He made one drop, and
He
I'm
also
seeing
fumbles.
yeah, well, it's true. But I'm seeing egregious stuff on Twitter that I can't even repeat on this podcast. And for a guy who's your all-time franchise touchdown leader, I think he's done so much for this team, and you're willing to just flip on him after one playoff game. It's just awful. Big shout out to Bills Mafia for donating to his charity. That's really cool of them. The Bills fan base
I
has
love
grown
Bills
on me.
fans.
I always was a little skeptical, but they really seem like genuine people who are just there to get drunk and watch some football in the cold. So they seem like good people. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I only got to watch the ending of this game. I was out the whole day before snowboarding. But what I saw from this game is, I mean, it was a close game. Lamar led that drive late in the fourth quarter. That was a good drive, but Andrews' drop just ended the game for them. But where I really think the game ended for them was the Andrews fumble. Because I don't know why he ran backwards on that play. He had a wide open field ahead of him. Maybe it was some throwing involved. Definitely not. But I just think it was a close game. It was a really good game, but Lamar in big moments, it wasn't entirely his fault, but he did have an interception and a fumble earlier on in that first half that also cost them the game. So what we've seen throughout the two games we've discussed, it's been turnovers and them small mistakes. One small mistake could completely derail your playoff hopes. And we're going to go to the NFC now. I'm going to start off with the Lions and Commanders. This was a great game. I watched the entirety of this game. This was the one game I actually had time to watch the whole thing of, and it did not disappoint. So, what I think went wrong for the Lions to start, it has to be their defense. You mentioned it on earlier that so many injuries to that defense, and like Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn not game planning fully, that just allowed Jaden Daniels to go crazy. Jaden Daniels just such a clutch player. Gonna sound a little bit glazing. I am an LSU fan, but it's the best rookie season we've ever seen from a quarterback. I don't want to hear anything else. I've seen Chargers fans talking about if man. Well, Justin Herbert had 4,500 yards in his rookie season. I don't care about yards. I care about success, team success, and playoff wins. This is the best season by a rookie quarterback ever. Enough with the Jaden Daniels glaze here. What also went wrong is the turnovers. I believe they had five turnovers this game. Goff threw 3 interceptions. He also fumbled, and then I don't know what was happening when Jameson Williams threw that pass. I think he just saw his moment ahead of him and he just took it, and it didn't go very well. But as we said, you can't win a game with 5 turnovers. I don't care if you're the Lions. They did it earlier this season against the Texans, but the Texans are not the Commanders. They're very different teams. And I believe Jared Goff was evaluated for a concussion earlier on in the game. I don't believe he should have come back in the game. I think he was very concussed, and that is kind of what led them to lose. What do you think on this?
Yeah, like I said, not too familiar with what happened there because I was on an airplane. And if you don't know, United got rid of DirecTV for some reason, even though they used to have it, which is, very, very annoying. But just looking at it from someone who didn't watch the game, I could understand when you have two of the top head coaching candidates. By the way, I'm going to go on a little rant here. Head coaching interviews should not start until
Oh,
a team is eliminated, or you shouldn't be able to interview until after the Super Bowl so that everyone is done. Because when you have five different teams calling you, like Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn being like the top two head coaching candidates on the market this cycle, you're never going to be able to game plan properly. For a playoff game, you should be working on everything 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. And when you have teams calling you, setting up interviews, they were taking interviews before the game happened. You can't do that. That's ridiculous. I
yeah.
feel bad for Lions fans. I think fully healthy Lions, easy Super Bowl favorites. They lost half their defense. They lost their two coordinators halfway through the week. It just didn't look good for the Lions, and I think overall that's what happened. Got to give credit to the Commanders though. Jane Daniels, like you said, I agree, best rookie season of all time. Overall success. He played a great game. He did what he needed to do, and they put up 45 points. I mean, you can't say much more. I think this is just like it's like the perfect world for like the Commanders and like disaster scenario for the Lions coming into this game. Everything that went wrong coming in went wrong for the Lions. Everything that could go right went right for the Commanders, and it resulted in a Commanders win, who are taking on Philly next week in the NFC Championship.
Want to see
And
you got it.
what?
I was gonna say, want to see something I saw on Twitter the other day. So I talked about If Man a little earlier. If you're not familiar, that's Justin Herbert. I saw a Chargers fan tweet, if Justin Herbert had this Commanders roster, he'd win the Super Bowl. I've been seeing those every time. Justin Herbert, if man, if he had one more receiver. I don't want to hear any more of that. I went on a little bit of a Justin Herbert rant. You carry on.
Yeah. We'll head on to the Rams Eagles game. Um, Great game all around in the snow. Very fun game. The snow was coming down in Philly. It was coming down here in New Jersey, and
And in
it came
Wisconsin,
down.
everyone
Yeah,
got some.
came down to the wire there at the end. And what I think really hurt the Rams is not being able to slow down Saquon there at the end on that 60 yard. I don't know how long it was. It was a long touchdown to put the Eagles up by two scores. The Rams eventually had a chance to come back. But I think what really affected them towards the end, at least when I was paying most attention and not doing my homework, is Jalen Carter completely wrecked that final drive. Or I don't know if it was just Jalen Carter because he was on that last play, but the Eagles D line took over on that last drive. They were in Matthew Stafford's face. Even throughout the game, they were forcing fumbles. They were like making him uncomfortable. And that's what you have to do to beat a veteran quarterback who has been to the playoffs, been and won a Super Bowl before. You have to get pressure on him and not allow him to control the game. As exactly what they did. And I think that's what won them the game essentially on that last drive and kept the Rams out of the end zone.
Yeah, like you said, I think it's Jalen Carter he just took over that entire drive. He had that huge sack and then forced a bad throw on Stafford there. I didn't actually get to watch this game. I was out on the slopes the entire day, but I was paying attention to the box score, professional box score watcher right here. But yeah, I think that's it. Stafford, they had a chance to win this game. They were only down by 6, touchdown extra point. They're moving on to the NFC Championship, but just clutch plays by the Eagles defense. You know, I don't know if we're ever going to see the Rams in this spot again. Stafford's getting up there in age. He was contemplating retirement. I think he's still got 1 or 2 good years left in him. I don't think this is the end of the road for him. Cooper Kupp, I think Cooper Kupp's done in LA. I feel like he's going to be moved on from this offseason. He practically did nothing during those last final weeks in this playoff. So the future in LA it's not going to look too good. But what I would do if I was the GM of LA, I'd go ahead and draft like a later round quarterback this year. I mean, Will Howard could be a solid starter in the NFL, I feel. He's got the traits for it. Let him sit behind Stafford 1 to 2 years because what I think quarterback development is essential to having just a good quarterback. We've seen what happened with Anthony Richardson. His development is killed because he was thrown into that starting role. I'm getting a little sidetracked on QB development here, so we're going to move on to the championship outlook. Would you like to start us off with the AFC or NFC? You get either one.
Yeah, so I'll go with the AFC here because that's my team's division. We have the Bills at the Chiefs. Another, another episode of this rivalry here. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. The Bills find a way to do it in the regular season, but whenever it comes down to the playoffs, the Chiefs find a way. I hope I'm wrong, but I think the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl again. I mean, it's just the same script every year. I really can't do it anymore. But we'll see if Josh Allen can, I think he's going to win MVP, so I'll call him the MVP. I think we'll see if he can take it over like a true MVP and make it his game, and take over with his legs and see if the Bills defense can stop Mahomes. This is when him and Kelsey really start to turn it on when the air gets a little bit colder and the games mean more. That's when they figure it out and start clicking. So I think the Chiefs are going to win here, but I do hope the Bills do.
Yeah. I'm going to flip the script. I think the Bills are going to take this game. going into Arrowhead, it's time. We're going to send this dynasty down. I know I'm going to be wrong. I know I'm going to get clowned for this. I know damn well that there's going to be some roughing the passer call in the last minute of the game winning kick by Harrison Butker. And guess where the camera's going to pan? Up to the box suites to Taylor Swift. So excited.
Oh
But what
boy.
I believe will happen, I think Josh Allen, like you said, he's going to show why he's the MVP. He's going to take over this game. He's out for vengeance. He's the one who started all this Chiefs stuff when he lost to them in that AFC Championship game. Ever since then, it's just been Chiefs every single year. It's his time to dethrone the dynasty. I mean, the Chiefs are definitely going to be back in the same position next year. We all know it. But I think this is Josh Allen's chance. He's gonna lock in this game. He's gonna play like his life depends on it. I think the Bills are gonna win this game, take it, and go on to the Super Bowl. And we're gonna go to the NFC Championship, which is a division rivalry: the Eagles versus the Commanders. In the two games these teams have played this season, they've been really good games. I believe they've both been one-score games. Latest one, Commanders won in like the last 5 seconds or something. I think it's going to come down to clutch plays, and what the Commanders have best is clutch plays. Philly's got a really high-powered offense, though, and they also have that great defense. They got, like we talked about, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. I almost said Hassan Reddick. I kind of forgot about his existence, low-key. But their offense, you got Hurts throwing for 100 yards in the playoffs. But then that doesn't matter when you have Saquon going for 150 plus. I think he's gone for 150 both of these two games. He's dialed into the playoffs. So I think it's going to be a really close game. I think it's going to be good. It's going to come down to clutch plays, like we said. Jaden Daniels is very clutch, but I think I'm going to have to go with the Eagles on this one. What do you think on that?
I'm also good. I'm also going to take the Eagles. Worst case scenario for me, Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl, but it's what's going to happen. I've seen this story before. Commanders have had a great year, great team. I hope I'm wrong, but I think this is where it comes to an end. The Eagles are just a better team. They're a better team. There's no way around that. Commanders have heart and they fight, but the thing about the Commanders is it can go either way. They can play
Yeah.
their A game like they did against the Lions, or they cannot play their A game, and we've seen what that looks like. Close games against teams like the Falcons and even losing to the Steelers.
That was like week
Yikes.
two, wasn't it?
No, that was week. It was right after the deadline because Mike Williams scored a game-winning touchdown. It was like his one
Oh,
catch of
yeah.
the season. That was awesome. It was like the peak of the Steelers season. It all went downhill from there.
As it does every single season.
So
Yeah.
it's something else.
Yeah,
I
like
won't even get into the Steelers here.
no, we're not going to get Steelers have been eliminated a long time ago. They were eliminated in week 15. It's best we don't get into that. But as you were saying, like, what Commanders are we going to see? What I believe is they beat Detroit. I believe they believe in that building that they can beat anyone, and they've beaten the Eagles this season. They've made two close games. So, like you said, I could see it flipping either way. What I want to happen, I want the Commanders to win this game. I want it more than anything right now. I want to see my favorite college QB of all time, Lord and Savior Jaden Daniels, Heisman winner. I remember, I'm going to quote you back on this. I don't have a picture, but I remember the day of the draft, you said Jaden Daniels was going to be a bust. Do you remember that? You said Drake May
I
was
don't
going to,
remember it, but I'm sure I did say
yeah,
it.
you
That
said,
I wasn't I didn't like the situation he had going in Washington, shaky OC situation. Terry McLaurin didn't look like he was improving. He was just getting older. No receivers outside of him. Bad O line and shaky defense. I just really didn't see him having the success that he's had this year. So props to him proving me wrong.
yeah, you said you wanted Drake May over him. I mean, Drake May is a great quarterback and all.
I feel like that was like I feel like it was always Caleb Williams one, Drake May two, and then like after the combine, getting closer to the draft, all of a sudden we saw Jaden Daniels start to hop up a little bit, and the Commanders actually took him. Even on draft night, I thought Drake May was going number two, but the Commanders did take him at two, and I don't think they're too upset with their pick
No,
there.
I don't think they're very upset. So, speaking of Caleb Williams, let's move on to the coordinator signings. Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn both have got hired as head coaches. Which you call, your call. Which one do you want to yap about? Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn?
I know more about Ben Johnson, so I'll go ahead and talk about him here. He's headed to the Chicago Bears to go work with number one overall pick Caleb Williams. I don't know how to feel. Uh, like, there's a chance he's like the next, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Sean McDermott, and he's able to lead his team. But I have bad feeling about Ben Johnson. We'll come back to this quote in 2 years when he wins the Super Bowl. Um, I don't see him being a good coach. I mean, like it's so easy to call plays for the Lions when you have best O line in football, a great game managing QB, two of the best running back duo in football, a great tight end, an elite receiver paired with another good receiver. It's not that hard, and I think he's going to see that it's going to get a little more challenging when it comes to Chicago. And we've seen great coordinators are not always great head coaches. Arthur Smith was a great coordinator in Tennessee. He went to Atlanta and he was awful. Steve Spagnuolo, great defensive coordinator. He went to the Rams, I
I have
think,
no
and
idea.
he went like 2-15 or 2-14 or whatever back in like 2014. And so sometimes the coordinators don't transfer well to head coaches, and I really think Ben Johnson's gonna be the bust of this coaching cycle. He's always been the number one guy like around the cycle. Everyone's target was Ben Johnson. My hot take is he's not gonna be that good, and we'll see him fired within the next 2 to 3 years here.
And then he gets scooped up by the Lions again, maybe. I don't know.
I could see it. I could see it just like Spagnuolo going back to the Chiefs.
Yeah, we'll move on to the other Lions coordinator, which I also think is going to be a huge, massive bust. Aaron Glenn,
Massive?
massive. Aaron Glenn is not going to be a very good head coach. You pair a defensive minded head coach in the New York Jets. If Aaron Rodgers is gone, then maybe he'll be okay. But I think he'll be gone. But Aaron Glenn, he just doesn't look like he'd be a very good head coach. I just don't like you said with Ben Johnson, I don't have a good feeling about it. He's on the older side of coach, which means he has more experience, but I just don't see him doing very good. I just have that weird feeling about it. I mean, if he was the
Just
Saints head
salty he
coach,
didn't go to the Saints.
no, no. If he was the Saints head coach, would win the Super Bowl in 5 years. Um, but speaking of the Saints, who is our head coach going to be for any team? Like the top two guys are gone. A lot of openings right now. The Jags have an opening. The Raiders have an opening. Saints have an opening. Am I missing anyone?
I'm not too sure off the top of my
Yeah.
head. I don't really know how many teams have openings, to be honest. I think the main teams are the Raiders, the Bears and Jets are filled, the Saints,
Saints and Jags.
Jags. That's a big one. And you want me to go into the Jags here?
No, I got to finish up my little Saints rant.
Oh yeah, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen there. We didn't get Ben Johnson. I've been wanting Ben Johnson for 2 years. I remember telling you like 2.5 years ago, Ben Johnson will be a Saint. Ben Johnson and Arch Manning, dream duo that is not going to happen. Maybe we'll still get Arch Manning, but I think the Saints are going to stay in house. I think they're going to stay with Darren Rizzi. It seems like he's the players' coach. We saw how that worked out with Antonio Pierce. That didn't go very well. I feel like we could have that same situation in New Orleans, a one and done for Darren Rizzi, or maybe I don't know what's going to happen with them. I don't really know who's on the market right now. Like market's looking pretty bleak with Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn gone. And you can go into your Jags right now because that's about all I have for the Saints.
One quick thing before. Did we ever mention the Mike Vrabel to the Patriots hiring? I don't think we
Oh, I
did.
kind of forgot about that.
That one just came to mind. I think that's a great pickup for the Patriots. I think Vrabel was a great head coach in Tennessee, and then obviously he's a thing about Vrabel. He's an input output coach. You give him a good team, he's going to give you good results. You give him a bad team, he's going to give you bad results. And I think that's a coach you want. Like you know what you're going to get, and with a good team, you're going to be able to contend. So I think the Patriots. He's a former Patriots player, former Steeler too. But he's a good coach, and I think that'll work out well for New England. But I'll move on to Jacksonville here. Trent Balky, I don't know how you say,
I don't know.
has finally been fired, which is interesting because if you don't know, he was the GM of the Jags. Awful, horrendous, kept him
Terrible.
around way too long, and then they fired him today, January 22nd, after these hirings happened, which is a horrible mismanagement
Better late than never.
because who was it, Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn that just walked out the building because they weren't going to coach for Trent Baalke?
No, I don't know if they did that, but I remember Buck's offensive coordinator. Not, I don't
Liam
remember.
Cohen, that's who it
Yeah,
was.
Liam Cohen.
Yeah.
He refused to interview them, and he signed back with the Bucks to stay as their offensive coordinator because Trent Baalke was the GM. That happened like yesterday, I think.
Right. So it's just a bad situation for the Jaguars because Everyone in the league thought he was getting fired as soon as the season ended. They didn't. They then missed out on the top 3 or 4 head coaches on the table, and now they fire him. I feel like either you double down or you fire him in the beginning. This is just a weird situation.
Bad
I
move.
guess maybe they'll go after a guy like Brian Flores. I think he's going to be a great head coach. I don't know why he was ever fired in Miami. Um, but it's a weird situation, and I think the Jags are a poverty franchise, so I'm not surprised. But you know,
I mean, like
that's
the
definitely
offense in
something.
Jacksonville, it's workable. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, he's not a bad quarterback by any means. He just never had that good situation. The one year he did, I mean, they made the playoffs, they won a game. But then the other ones, he had Urban Meyer, and then this season, and another one, I don't really remember. But I feel like they have a young offense. I think they're fixable. I just don't know who's going to get that job because it just seems like a disaster in Jacksonville right now to me. That's what I think.
Yeah.
All right, you want to move on to your favorite hockey team, Connor Garland, favorite Connor Garland
So we're
enthusiast.
done with football here. If you were here for football, we'll see you. But we're moving on to the Vancouver Canucks, baby. The worst team in the NHL. I'm so done with the Canucks. We were up 2-1 against the Buffalo Sabres at home last night, and we blew the lead in the third period. I'm so sick of this team. Taki needs to go. We have so many offensive-minded players. Quinn Hughes, Phil Hronik, Elias Pettersson, JT Miller, Jake DeBrusk, Connor Garland, Brock Besser, and we're not scoring more than 3 goals in a game. It's just outrageous because this old head unk coach likes to dump the puck in from the blue line and chase it, and it never works. And he has these tree trunk defensemen who can't move a puck if their life depended on it. It's horrendous. But I do want to talk about on the bright side. My goat, Connor Garland. By the way, 2 new jerseys in for Christmas. We got
Oh yeah,
Heisman right here, and we got Connor
my
Garland, the
Heisman.
short king. Yeah, my Heisman right there, Ashton Genty. But I think the Connor Garland, Connor McDavid situation was hilarious. If you don't know, Connor Garland held McDavid to the ground because there was 15 seconds left, and even if they called a penalty, the Oilers weren't going to give the puck up to the Canucks. So there was never going to be a power play, and so you're essentially taking their best player, the best player in the world, out of the game, which was genius by Garland. And McDavid, having a little temper tantrum like he always does when it doesn't go his way, gets up, cross checks Garland in the face, whole fight breaks out. Myers cross checks Bouchard in the face as well. So they both get 3 game suspensions. You asked an average Edmonton citizen, they would tell you the world just exploded and that McDavid just got shot. I genuinely don't understand how they don't think that's a fair suspension for getting up, using your stick, and just going like that into someone's face. It's beyond me. I mean, average inbred Alberta resident who has an IQ lower than 30. Sorry. That's my little Canucks rant. Um, oh, and JT Miller. I don't think we've talked about him in a while. It looks like he's gone. Nothing official as of yet, but we're hearing the Rangers, Devils, Islanders, Hurricanes, and Stars are potential destinations, with the Bruins also being the mix. He wants to end up in the Eastern USA, won't go to Canada because he does have a no move clause, and that seems like where he's going to go. I'm done. That's all I've got.
Little Canucks run here. Now let's go on the old Abe's run. The old Abe's hockey team will be. I don't even know high school hockey. I love high school sports. A little bit of another rant here, but Wisconsin high school sports hit different. I used to be from Texas. I think I mentioned that the first episode. Texas high school sports are something else, but you know what they don't have? They don't have hockey. Who wants to watch 6'5" freshman, 35 D1 offer kids play for the Snow Bunnies every day? Who wants to see some good old fashioned hockey? I don't even know what I'm saying at this point, but that's about all we got here. Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 11 of Gridiron Across the U.S. Make sure to follow our Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Everything's going to be tagged in the bio. We'll put it up on here as well. And we're going to see you guys Tuesday for our little rant about the championship weekend. And then Thursday, we'll do a little Super Bowl preview. And then we'll throw in like a little Pro Bowl special somewhere in that extra week off before the Super Bowl.
Well, Thursday we'll do a Pro Bowl preview because the
Yeah.
Super Bowl's in 2 weeks. So we'll do Pro Bowl preview Thursday, and then we'll get into the Super Bowl next week.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. So, anyways, thank you guys for watching, and we're going to see you guys in the next episode of Gridiron Across the U.S.